From sportschatplace.com and pickdogs.com. It is Sunday, April 26th, 2020. Still no sports, so that makes this show pretty rough. I thought that we had one of the best shows out there while there were picks going on. I have to say, we had the idea to stick with you guys the whole way, and we're still going to do that. But the show has kind of deteriorated, so we're going to change it up a little bit. And then once picks comes back, we'll go back to the show that you guys love, having us all on and going through the games and all of that kind of good stuff. But in the meantime, we're going to try some new things. I'll be moving into the new studio likely next week. So we'll be able to try some of that stuff. And then as some of the equipment arrives, thanks to Best Buy, who said it would be here by April 21st, and now they're saying May 1st, we'll be able to add some of those features. But, one of the things that I've talked about over the last couple of days that really is kind of sports related it's not kind of sports related, it is sports related, actually. And what that is the Miami Dolphins as an organization and how Miami Dolphin fans put up with stuff that the St. Louis Cardinal fans would never have to deal with. So I go to the mailbox yesterday. Okay, it's 6 o'clock Hawaii time, so that's midnight. Okay, on the East Coast. Okay, and I get this letter. Okay, orange padded envelope, right? It's from the Miami Dolphins. I'm like, this is going to be, I said to my wife the second I got it, this is going to be a load of crap. Okay, so here's what it is. Okay, here's what we get. I'm going to switch this. I'm going to show it just so you guys can see just how crappy this is. I'm going to go to just me here. Okay, so the first thing I got was a refrigerator magnet, and this is the Miami Dolphins song. Okay, it's a refrigerator magnet. Everyone, I think predominantly in the United States, at least, and I don't know about how it is overseas, but in the United States, most people have stainless steel fridges now, and these things don't stick, right? So there's a thought process. Now, here's a couple other things that they decided to send me. This nice padded envelope, okay? Sticker, which is not bad. And here's a sticker, member, presented by Truist. I don't even know what the fuck that means. Okay. Then here's the old logo that we all like, right? That's the dolphin with the helmet, right? New logo, old logo. I mean, really, is this trying to tell us like how much we hate the new logo? Is this what they're trying to emphasize? Even the thing, like if you look at them next to each other, even the thing that surrounds the dolphin, the orange circle, is still better in the old logo. And now here's the kicker, okay? Here's the beauty of the whole thing. Okay, and I got this package yesterday at 6 o'clock Hawaii time, which is midnight Eastern time on Saturday. The NFL draft started on Thursday. Here you go. You're invited to join the 2020 Dolphins virtual draft party presented by Bud Light Seltzer on Thursday, April 23rd at 7:30 p.m. in the official Miami Dolphins fan group on Facebook. It's like the freaking draft is over. And what is this?
That's a late to the party.
Yeah, I didn't even read this, but Tom Garfunkel, the vice chairman and president and CEO, is the guy who sent this out. Garfinkel is the one who sent this out. Invited me to the draft party that ended 3 days ago. I don't know. Steve, do you think the St. Louis Cardinals get invited 3 days late to the draft party? I'm just not sure.
I mean, no, they do not.
And the thing is that I mentioned this the other day is just how ridiculous it is that when the Dolphins send stuff out to me, emails, these letters, and it's like I have no idea. But the one thing that, while I was digging through my stuff as I'm putting together the studio, the one thing that I did find in here, something I showed a few years ago, and I know Chris loves this, because the Dolphins do send out some pretty cool stuff too in there. And this one was a week after this happened.
Oh, nothing wrong with that.
Yep. There's your Rob Gronkowski right there.
Yeah.
So this will be on the wall
face
of the studio.
face full of grass.
Throwback uniform too.
Yep. It always
Yep.
happens. Only good things happen in throwback uniforms. 32, was that Benny Malone's old number?
That was Benny Malone's old number.
Could have
You're right.
been, right? But that will be on the wall in the new studio. Just having trouble in there, like putting together stuff, or and maybe tomorrow we'll broadcast from there, even though it's not done. It's not even close to done. We'll broadcast from the new studio, and I'll show you guys where I'm struggling, and maybe you guys can give me some suggestions if anyone shows up for the show. But come back to it. So, Steve, best NFL draft and worst NFL overall draft. So DJ Dallas did go, and Shaq Quarterman, my two guys, went right after the show, pretty much yesterday. DJ Dallas and Shaq Quarterman. Jeff Thomas did not get drafted. My other guy, who's the sleeper, and oddly enough, KJ Osborne was drafted, and I thought that he was. I mean, so KJ Osborne was the transfer to Miami from Buffalo, and he had a pretty good year. He's a nice wide receiver, but he's no Jeff Thomas. Not even close. Like Jeff Thomas is a bullet. Anyways, who had the best draft? Who had the worst? Because I saw a lot of teams draft really well late.
Well, I think a lot of the teams, the first two picks, I think a lot of teams across the board did very well with their first two picks.
That's where the draft is easiest,
Right, but that's where, impact really makes a difference there.
Sometimes.
Again,
Sometimes. I would say less. I would say less. It makes less impact than this.
Yeah, but like scanning this year's draft, like the Panthers, so unique. Panthers drafted all 7 players on the defensive side.
I love that.
First 85, but they got Derek Brown and they got the kid from Penn State, Yetur Matos, right? So those are 2 real impact players for the defensive line. For example, I think the Bills had a really good draft. I think I liked what the Bills did. I like what the Colts did. Getting Jonathan Taylor, and then they get Jacob Eason mid-round and get their quarterback of the future. They got Pittman, the wide receiver from USC. I like what they did. Bengals, first 2 picks, Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. I thought that's good for them. And I could go on and on. The Cardinals, Isaiah Simmons, and then getting Josh Jones, who we talked about on the offensive line. I thought the Jets had a nice draft. I thought the Giants filled needs, and I could go on and on.
Well, I think teams filled needs, but who we're looking at who's got the sure thing, like the best hand of cards of what they got dealt, and who's got the guys that, man, if they really pay off, they really knock the cover off. And I think the Jets had a draft where if these guys happen, if Jabari Zuniga stays healthy, if the guy from Cal, turns out that he can actually play football, not just run hurdles, if these things hit. And I gotta, and I'll be candid here. I'm not a Jets fan, right? But I've watched a lot of Jets football over the year, and I'd say the chance of the Jets hitting on a draft is about 6%. You got Gase as your head coach, so they're not going to get coached up, right? They're going to get coached down, right? And they're not going to understand the game plan, okay? So we know this, okay? We know this going in. It's like, to me, it's like if you're the Jets, this is where you only draft beef. When you have a guy like Gase, you only draft beef because basically those are the guys that are going to be able to handle whatever he throws at them. He's not going to set you up for success if you're a rookie NFL player. He wasn't able to do it in Miami, and what would make you think that he would be able to do it here? He certainly didn't do it last year. I think the Baltimore Ravens knocked the cover.
I was just gonna say Queen and Dobbins first 2 picks, and
well, we I think the first 2 picks you throw out. I think you start at 7 and move up, and you look at who the Ravens got, and it's like, oh my God, Geno Stone. He could have gone in the first round, and it's like this guy is ridiculous. It's like Geno Stone from Iowa was easily one of the top safeties in this draft. I mean, one of the top guys. They get Prochet from SMU, who basically beat teams by himself. They get him to go with Lamar Jackson. Broderick Washington Jr. from Texas Tech, Tyree Phillips. Every one of their picks. Go all the way back to Medbuike, Dobbins. Those guys. Patrick Queen, I say give and take. That's the one that I would be afraid of all of the picks. I don't like that one. But when you go down there, every one of those guys is picked that they picked, and this is the way it is every year for the Ravens. Isn't I can't believe they were still on the board pick. Every single one of them.
Yeah, they just kept firing daggers at their picks.
It was crazy.
What a good one.
But the thing is, they do it every year.
Oh, another good one.
And why is this team always in the playoffs? It's certainly not John Harbaugh's coaching, right?
No, look at this draft. They don't have a draft.
They know. These guys have players, man, up and down the roster. This is how you win. Chris, I thought the New England Patriots tried to get a little cute with their draft. Tried to be like smarter than everybody else. Let's take the guys that no one was going to take anyway and see what happens. Right? I mean, no one was going to take these guys anyway. We're going to hit some home runs with these guys. No doubt about it. But you got a kicker with that's white supremacist, and you got I mean,
all I'm going to say about this is if I had New England draft on a piece of paper and I had that red rubber fail stamp in my hand, I would have smashed it on the desk at that point.
Well, we know Belichick's hit some home runs with these guys before, and we know that New England is certainly, they've developed talent, especially, of guys that no one ever heard of. But most of their guys that have been pretty good for their teams are the guys that you've heard of. It's like, I know they've drafted a lot of these guys you haven't heard of, but it's like, everyone knew who Teddy Bruschi was. It's not like, this guy was, all of a sudden, or, Randy Moss had a pretty good run when he was with the Patriots. And, even Tom Brady, everybody knew who he was. It was like he had started for Michigan. It's like, he was on Michigan for a while. He wasn't seen as like an all-time great Michigan quarterback or a can't miss. And, if you look at, the big scenario, there have been a lot of Michigan quarterbacks that have been drafted a lot higher than him, including Jim Harbaugh. But, this draft, they didn't take a quarterback.
Look, I was hopeful for maybe a Jordan Love in the first round. They passed on him, like, okay. And we were talking about, day 2, and I was like, okay, maybe they'll go after Easton or Fromm. Didn't get Easton. I'm like, okay, maybe Fromm. They get in the 5th round. I watch all the coverage, wait to the 5th round, and they take a kicker.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I don't like.
Okay.
What about the character here on this kicker?
Yeah,
this is the team that drafted Aaron Hernandez, right? So you would think that they would really have their stuff in order.
Yeah, I mean, like I left the draft.
The tats, right? Aaron Hernandez had the gang tats, and the writing is on the arm, right? This is how this works.
Two of the team's biggest needs were quarterback and wide receiver, and neither of them were addressed at all.
Kicker make the team.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
Kasky he was released after 300 years as the kicker, so it's
the guy has a white supremacist tattoo on his arm.
Yeah.
You can't take that back. You can cover it. You can have it changed. You don't get a second chance at that. If he covers it before he's drafted and anything like that, before anyone says anything, he has it modified into a devil or something, right? Who knows? Right? then it's going to be his old Twitter account, right? Is what's going to come up. That'll be the next for this guy, right? It's going to be his tweets, and I mean, you're walking right down the same, four-part miniseries, is where you're going here, and that's where the Patriots don't want to be, right? They gave that guy how much was his contract? $80 million, something like that.
Hernandez?
Yeah,
It was $40 million when he signed the extension.
there. So just $40 million. I don't know how he could afford the gun. Anyways,
With this rookie kicker, they're going to take hazing to a new level. Let me tell you something.
I don't think this guy makes it to camp.
If he does, he's not making it through camp.
I don't think he makes it. I don't think he makes it. I don't think he makes it out of camp. I don't think he makes it to camp. We'll see. I've been wrong before. I like the Dustin Woodard pick for the Pats. This the last pick that they made, the center. I think he's the guy that ended up sticking. I really did not like the Justin Herron pick. I think he's the guy that does not make it. Ended up in Wake Forest. Wake was okay, but they kind of fell. They started really fast, but then they fell really fast. Rod, how about you? Who I know you didn't really 4 through 7. You were drafted out at that point. But who do you think? What team? How about like the Dolphins? How do you think the Dolphins did in this draft? I was a little disappointed that they wasted a pick on a long snapper there. I think it was. I understand the idea of a luxury pick, but I think when you have that many picks, I think you have to do a little better. But I do like that the Dolphins repeatedly went offensive and defensive line, and it's kind of like how do you not miss in the NFL draft? You just draft a ton of offensive and defensive linemen, and it's like someone's gonna stick.
Some of those will stick. Yeah, exactly. So,
right. There are 7th-round picks
but
that don't make it out of camp every year.
I'd give them like a B minus, maybe a C. They could have done way better with all them draft picks that they did.
Yeah, Pittman. They could have done better. I definitely agree.
Yeah, Tua.
I liked the pick, the first 4 picks. I think the Tua pick. I think I've come to terms with it, and I've kind of just said, well, you're not going to get Burrow, who's the best bet of these guys. You can't reach and take Fromm or Eason because you're kind of past that in the quarterback department in Miami, where you haven't had a quarterback in a long time, right? 25 years or something at this point. I saw Dan Marino throwing the ball to Peyton Manning on Peyton Manning's show that he does. It's like, man, it's been a long time since we've been good. It's just the Dolphins had to go quarterback there, and they had to go real quarterback and a real heavy hitter. So that's why they went there with Tua. It's like the whole thing is if they don't draft Tua and he ends up being the second coming of Namath, it's like, or Stabler or something. It's like then
That was a great pick, but if he comes out and he gets first hit and he's out, yeah.
Well, that's a risk that everybody takes. That's a risk that's part of football. We've seen the Boston Celtics in basketball signed Gordon Hayward, right? First game breaks his leg. It's like
How many?
This is sports, and it's like these are big guys with a lot of pressure doing things that their body isn't made to do.
How many football players with a massive hip injury have made it to the Hall of Fame?
The injury that Tua had isn't really a football injury, which made it really weird. You don't really see that.
Dislocated hip? That can't be good.
You don't see it, though. You don't see dislocated hip. It's not really an injury that you see. You see the knee injuries.
You're gonna feel that every time it rains.
He's had surgery on both ankles already.
Yeah. I think that was a bad pick.
Well, we're gonna find out, and I'm gonna, as a Dolphin fan, I'm gonna rally behind him. I'm gonna be a fan, and
I'm trying to be optimistic, but I'm not optimistic.
when you've gone through, Jay Fiedler and Brian Tannehill, and we had Ray Lucas, and we had
Gus Farad.
Gus.
Gus Farad stop in Miami.
I'm sure he did. Ryan Trick, and, the guy who's Chad Henne. I mean, Chad Henne also drafted way ahead of Tom Brady. It's tough not to be at least we took. At least we did it. We didn't Jamar Fletcher out. We could have easily done it. There was a lot of guys there that you could have justified and said these are can't miss guys. That you put there, especially any of those wide receivers. But at a certain point, you got to pull the trigger and you got to take one. And at least they did it. But now they're locked in. And, you look at the quarterback pipeline the next few years. Trevor Lawrence next year, and but there'll be another guy. There'll be another couple guys. There always is. And we're gonna see who those guys are. I'm sure Texas Tech's gonna have a guy that can throw the ball around. Houston's gonna have a guy, and Oklahoma's got a guy, right? Oklahoma's guy's a freshman, so it might be a couple of years to see him out.
So what do you think of the Dolphins trading for Matt Breida? That's nothing wrong with that. Would they give up a 5th round or something?
I think that I think when you're trading Kenyon Drake for a 7th or whatever, that it's hard to justify trading for a guy like Breida. I think the nice thing about Breida is the nice thing about trading for Breida is that he's low mileage. He doesn't have a lot of miles on the tread. He doesn't have a lot of tread wear. We saw last year, he didn't carry the ball much, but when he did, he was good. He was their 3rd back, and it's like when we saw him front and center, he was ripping off big runs. But outside of that, not only did he not have big runs, he didn't play at all. So we'll see. Is he an every down number 1 back? Because that's what the Dolphins needed, and they didn't get it.
We shall see.
We're going to see. Well, I think, I'll probably go through and do individual draft videos for every team, kind of just evaluate everybody's draft, go through it one by one. But like I said, those of you joining us late, we're going to change up the format of the show just for the non-picks part, and then we'll probably go back to doing what we were doing when everything starts back up again. So I think that the show, when we had the pick show, we had the top show, and I just think that now the whole idea was to keep things going, and I think we keep things going maybe a little too far and a little too just disjointed just to have a show. So we're going to do it a little bit different. We're still going to do Monday with Mitch. And then following that, on Tuesday, we're just going to reformat this show where basically each guy will have a segment. Everyone's going to have a segment. I'm going to stay with them. We'll have a segment. And, if we need to have 2 guys for the segment, we'll have 2, whatever. We'll figure it out. But we're going to do the show in segments. And then once the picks come back, we'll go back to the old format that was super successful. And then I also have a new show that I'll be doing in the afternoons when the games start again and stuff. So why not? We'll see how it goes. If we don't like it, we can always switch back. It's pretty easy. We don't have any too much invested in it. So I'll be out of the new studio within the next week or so. So I'm excited about it. It's fun building the set. It's like all that crap that you carried around in boxes, all those little things. They're all out. My signed Ric Flair picture, all kinds of stuff like that. But so I guess we get to the sports update section. NBA is telling players to practice. That's a good sign. That's a really, really good sign. That's basically saying any crack here, we're going to go. I think everybody feels that way about everything. Any crack, right, Steve? Any crack here, you ready to go? You ready to leave the house? Yeah. How the kids doing?
Yeah, they can't wait to get it.
Chris, how's the relationships with the fiance going? A little social distancing going on?
Yeah. Probably.
Rod, how are things at home? A little social distancing?
Oh, yeah. For sure. Between my wife at work and and the dogs. And, oh yeah,
Yeah, my
I'm
ass was
pretty.
my ass was getting so big. I'm telling you, man. I feel it's like I'm on a diet of starving to death. It's like, it's really not enjoying it. I'm not a good dieter. It's like I'm pretty crabby to begin with, and it's like put me on a low blood sugar, man. It gets real ugly, especially coming off a bender of Reese's peanut butter, like I was on.
Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, so like the diet I'm on, it's like I like, you could have eggs, on it, as much eggs as you want or whatever. It's like, yeah, the eggs are kind of just there, I like the pancakes, crinkle cut French fries, and toast. That's my favorite part of it. But we got sim games. Chris, how did we do yesterday? We got cut off, right? Yesterday's show.
Yeah, we did.
Yesterday my computer decided to do an update like right before we were ready to do the show, so I have a bunch of computers here, but the one that I picked up was like the worst one. It's the one that everyone has a computer, like an old one. It's like, oh, I could still use this thing, but you use it, it's like it just grinds. It's like that was the computer I used on yesterday's show. So finally, it just decided, all right, I'm good. I'm done. Just tapped out. But we see these Sims games go, and I don't know. Have we figured out any kind of strategy here on these Sims games? Is there any rhyme or reason to it? Is there a certain team, like the best running back? If you have the best running back, that's who you take, or
No, but you do see that ratings play a big part of it. Like there are some teams where art imitates life, where they're good in the game, they're good in reality. You got a team like Cleveland, who's 6-10 in reality, but the game loves them. So these games are all coin flips at the end of the day. Because I mean, it's a computer simulation, but you only get to pick out one, and that's the one they broadcast and use for the bet. So
it seems that these games also are offense. A lot of offense
yeah,
for the most part.
I mean, but then you get the one outlier. Like yesterday, I thought the Chiefs and Cowboys game was at 61.5. Was going to go over. It finished at 27-20. So it's still a simulation. You can still have a team like the Bengals that put up 10 points, despite it being a simulation game and you having 15-minute quarters. So
I wish they did more hockey of them. I've got one of those wrong. You can just bet all those over, and they're easy.
Yeah.
That's why they only do two of it. Anything.
I think
Hockey sims are the most realistic out of all the ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 20,
Well, besides
21-20 game, whatever.
but besides the scoring, it's set on like 80s scoring.
Well, now they've had to put a fine print on under the bet. It says sliders adjusted for realism. And it's just like
That's still a lot of
don't
goals.
adjust the sliders.
They still
Adjust
get
the line.
You could. I know. I'm not in that business, but I'm in the internet business, and I can tell you, you can put it in bold print and make the part where you bet just a tiny little piece, and there'll still be people that don't understand, don't know what that means. We'll ask about it.
Yeah, there are people that won't even read that little blurb.
Got a question?
Even if you make it big and bold and shiny, people aren't going to read. Some people just don't even read it.
Anybody else shocked about Henry Ruggs being the first wide receiver drafted? No.
We talked about it.
Yeah. No. It was splitting hairs, the wide receivers, and it's just no matter what type of receiver you wanted. The fastest one that, is also has good hands is not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
I think it's a good pick.
I think Waddle will be, up there next year for Bama again. Right near the top. Bernard Gambrell wants to talk about yesterday's races. Well, Chris, who won the Super Bowl 3 years ago, I had the Patriots to beat the Falcons. Good one. There's nothing fun about talking about yesterday. That's why we don't do recaps. Anyways, let's do these.
Well, Tay Crowder, linebacker, Georgia, was crowned this year's Mr. Irrelevant. Giants drafted him, the last pick of the draft.
But do you think that like Mr. Irrelevant has, it's not like it's 15-round drafts anymore, 16-round drafts, where Mr. Irrelevant really was Mr. Irrelevant. Now it's like, Randy Moss's son is getting picked up as a free agent. It's like,
Yeah,
that would never have happened,
that's right.
before.
That's my point. I was leading to like it's no longer Mr. Irrelevant to the point, like you said, where it was 14-round drafts and 15-round drafts, whatever it
He was
was.
drafted. It was 252, right? Is the number that he was drafted? 252 or something? 255.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Two,
255 maybe.
four.
So it's like we said yesterday. You break down a college football team, even if you rounded way down and said there's 50, and then we know there's way more than that.
Sure.
And there's
90 on a roster.
Yeah, but it's guys that are draft eligible, and all that stuff. 250, there's probably, there's over 300 players invited to the combine, and we saw a bunch of non-combine players drafted too. So I don't know. I really think that we saw why the Giants are a crappy team. Why it's that's what we saw. It's like this is basically, we're gonna sink or swim with Daniel Jones, and it's like, you're gonna sink. Okay, you're gonna sink bad. You're going straight to the bottom. Is where you're going. It's like you drafted. You've had no luck with safeties in the past. I will just take it. Their defensive backs in general. They haven't had a hell of a lot of luck with. Reaching on linemen. I don't know, man. I don't share the vision. Gettleman in his farewell tour. Anyways, I thought the Giants had one of the worst drafts, top to bottom.
I think McKinney's going to be a player, but I would say the jury's out on the draft.
Yeah, I mean, before we go to the sim picks, let's just go to this Giants draft that I'm bashing the living crap out of. I also hated the Cowboys draft, to be honest with you, but I think the Cowboys draft all the way to the first pick, was bad. And then you go, the one guy that they get, the center out of Wisconsin, is the one guy, is your can't miss, is your 5th round pick. That's always a problem. Let's see the Giants. I'm just trying to see if I can find them, because Kuiper doesn't even give them a reasonable grade, I don't think. Oh, there he is. He gives them a B. So they had a lot of picks. So Tay Crowder, Chris Williamson out of Minnesota, the corner. I mean, they didn't hold up in the big games at the end because they had a really soft schedule. And then when they played against the better teams, it was at the end of the season, and they did not hold up. And I'll tell you what, even in the Penn State game, when they won that game at home, it was down to the last minute where Penn State had the chance, and then they did throw the interception there. Brunson out of South Carolina, Carter Coughlin, another Minnesota guy, Cam Brown, their obligatory Penn State draft pick that we talked about before the draft, right? Then Shane Lemieux out of Oregon, Darnay Holmes, UCLA corner. I don't love it. Matt Pert out of UConn. Reach,
Reach lineman, but it's a need.
Xavier McKinney, probably a reason he dropped. Everyone's slow, right? Very slow. And then you have Andrew Thomas, who's could be the home run, but it's like, once again, it's like, are you going to develop a project there on the offensive line? Because your team is a project, because you drafted a quarterback it's not going to take you past 6 or 7 wins. So it's going to be an uphill struggle the whole way.
Right.
It's like, I don't understand the Daniel Jones pick. I mean, I still don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't see it. I don't share the vision. I don't understand the thing. And I could, we could be in week 15 of the NFL season, and I could be getting hammered on here. But, I saw Daniel Jones play last year, and this guy's not going to win at the NFL level on a consistent basis.
I don't think the Giants were the worst team in this draft. That's for sure.
I think they're up there. I think you got it.
They're up there. They're definitely up there, but I think the Packers are worse.
I think I gave
Packers number 1, the worst drafting team this year.
Yeah,
worse than the Eagles?
Worse.
Yeah.
Worse than the Patriots?
Yep.
Yep. You didn't help Rodgers. What did you give him? Big kick in the pants.
That's
I mean,
Help him.
we were saying like the one thing that you need to give Aaron Rodgers so that you can sort of help him out as a receiver, and the only thing you do on offense really with your first couple picks is you take his successor for that offense, which probably won't see the field in what 3 or 4 years at the earliest, depending on how many years he has left in the tank. You got AJ Dillon, who's probably still going to be a backup to Aaron Jones for the foreseeable future, and I mean, he'd maybe a 2 down back, could be a 3 down back if he really tried, but facing probably two down back. And all the other picks were used on non-receivers. I think they were defensive players even. And you want to say, well, we'll help Aaron Rodgers. Like I said, that was the one thing that we probably needed help with the most was getting him a second receiver because Devontae Adams can't do it all on his own. Can't rely on Marcus Valdes-Scantling and whoever else was there.
about Daniel Jones. I mean, how shitty of a pick is that? Who you like, Jacob Eason or Daniel Jones?
Jacob Eason.
Jake Fromm or Daniel Jones? Huh?
Jake Fromm.
Jordan Love or Daniel Jones? And then where you pick, Justin Herbert or Daniel Jones? I mean,
okay, at quarterback, Tristan Wirfs or Daniel Jones.
But Daniel Jones was last year's draft. We're still talking this year's draft.
Oh no, this one's gonna sit with me for a while.
Oh, that's gonna sit for a while. But we're talking ranking
That's what
of
you
this
call
draft.
you draft
Not
Daniel
dead
Jones
last.
with 6 overall. That's what you call leave. That's gonna leave a mark. You know that.
We're going to hear about Daniel Jones for the next 10 years on every show in football
Well,
season.
I think when it comes to Giants drafting quarterbacks, I think that and the Dave Brown pick, which somehow they get a pass on, right? Why doesn't anyone ever talk about the Dave Brown pick for the Giants? Well, except for me, right? I never let it go. It's at least Dave Brown. I mean, it's the same school, right? Same school. It's like your
They
other.
wore the same number in college and everything.
It's like, except at least Brown had Spurrier as his coach. It's like I don't even understand it. It's like we've done so well with Duke quarterbacks. All right, let's get to the sim picks. So, like I said, we're gonna have a new format. I think we're gonna cover a little bit more horse racing too, at least for the short term. I'm gonna cover races too. Give out more picks, and I'm also gonna start the. I believe Charles has esports going with his spread knowledge. So I'll start doing the spread knowledge show again as well. Let's do it, Chris. Sim picks.
All right, so at 1 o'clock Eastern, Bears at Bucks. Bears minus 4.5, over under 47. I like Tampa Bay here.
Jameis Winston farewell tour. Amen. Rod?
I'll take Tampa money line.
Tampa.
Next.
Okay, at 4 o'clock, Packers at Colts. Packers minus 7.5, over under 57.5. I like the Packers.
Packers.
I'll take Colts plus 7.5.
I'll take the Colts.
7 o'clock Eastern, Panthers at Saints. Saints minus 7.5, over under 59.5. Like New Orleans here.
Saints for me. I guess
Nolans.
Christian McCaffrey's the best player in this whole thing.
Well, Carolina has 2 guys that are 99 overall. They have Luke Kuechly and Christian McCaffrey.
I'll take the Panthers plus 7.5.
And the last one, Chiefs at Patriots. Chiefs minus 3, over under 61.5.
The Giants are never in these games, are they? Chiefs at Patriots.
Well, they are. They're 1-8.
The Patriots seem to play the Chiefs. The Patriots and the Chiefs seem to play every day.
We're on a run seeing the Chiefs and the Patriots a lot right now. So
it's like
they don't care about the back-to-back scenario.
This is the best 5 out of 9. I got the.
I like the over here.
I think the Chiefs have won every time. I took the Pats. I got the Pats here.
Chiefs.
I'll go Chiefs.
I mean, they play every
It's in light snow. Oh wait, no, it's in the light snow. It might snow. It's going to snow a little bit in Foxborough.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, a little bit of snow. So I'm going to take the under. Chiefs and the under 61.5 in the light snow.
See, that's common logic, but every time I've seen snow or rain, the total's gone over. So I'm taking a shot with the over here.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. That wraps up our show. So what do you guys think the Giants should have done? I think the Giants should have traded out of that number 4 overall pick and gotten a boatload of picks. And I think that they could have at least, littered the roster with guys that come from winning teams. And I think that that's always a good place to start. And
Traded.
it's a team that needed a lot of help. They had a pick that a lot of people were interested in, apparently.
Trade the 4th and Daniel Jones for 6th overall pick.
Yeah. I don't see why they're married to Daniel Jones here. I just,
Well, they are.
it's going to be short-lived. There's only so much tolerating they're going to do. I mean, they're coming out of the Eli Manning, and with him, you're going to be somewhat tolerant. But with Daniel Jones, I don't think so. He wasn't a pick that everyone was expecting and really wanted. He was Daniel Jones. All right, we'll see everyone tomorrow for Mondays with Mitch, and I'll have the guys back on Tuesday in a new format of the show. And I think you guys are going to like it. And then we'll just use that new format until sports resumes, which I hope is soon. So we do have Nicaraguan basketball. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.